And my question is to Matt Keane. Pennant Hills has a significant number of, this bit of a background and then a specific question. Pennant Hills has a significant number of families interested in disability issues. I'm personally very interested because my daughter Grace has Down syndrome, but we have a local Lifestart branch here that provides early intervention services for kids with disabilities and delays. We have Pennant Hills Neighbour Aid to look after the frail, aged and disabled. We have Pennant Hills High School that has a special needs unit. We also have a larger than usual ageing population here with some really good nursing homes and retirement facilities. The New South Wales Government currently funds disability services, but through the Department of the ADIC. However, this will be taken over by the federal government under the NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme, and that's probably a good thing. But under the current arrangements that are mooted, most disability services will be taken over by NDIS, but the current $6.5 million per annum funding for disability advocacy organisations like Family Advocacy is a local one here in Epping, they won't be funded by the NDIS, so they'll slip between the cracks. At the current proposal, New South Wales Government will stop funding them, the federal government won't pick it up, and they'll fall away. And my understanding is that the Labor opposition has promised to provide this $6.5 million of disability funding. Matt, will the Liberals also continue this funding?
Well, thanks for a great question, Andrew. As many of you are aware, last year the New South Wales Government signed up to be part of the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, a bipartisan position where the New South Wales Liberal Government agreed to the Gillard Government's proposal to fund disability better, to do disability better. And we did so for a very important reason, Andrew. Disability could affect any one of us. And because it could affect any one of us, it affects all of us. So this is above politics. And I supported that initiative, and I continue to support New South Wales signing up to the NDIS agreement. So what does that mean? What does that mean for people living with a disability in our community? Well, what it means is the current spend that the New South Wales Government has on disability services will go towards the Commonwealth. So New South Wales will exit the space of disability service provision. That's a $3.1 billion spend that will no longer be spent on New South Wales delivery of services, but it will be sent over to the Commonwealth to do the same thing, to provide the packages for people living with a disability. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. We have a national system now, which means that you will get the same high quality level of care and support, regardless of whether you're living in Pennant Hills or Broken Hill, whether you're living in Broken Hill or Perth. Disability affects every one of us, so therefore we all have an involvement and interest in it. The issue you raised about important support and funding for advocates is a critical one, and it's one that's often forgotten. Your daughter Grace is very fortunate. She's got someone that knows the system and will passionately advocate on her behalf. But not everyone is that fortunate. Not everyone's that fortunate. So in New South Wales, we have advocates that work on behalf of people living with a disability. And that's currently funded by the state government. That funding is proposed to disappear under the new NDIS arrangements. And the reason is because the Commonwealth will fund those important positions. Now, the Labor opposition has said that they will continue to fund advocates up until when the NDIS takes over. So they've committed $6.5 million to continue support for advocates for people living with a disability. And tonight, I can confirm that the New South Wales Baird Liberal Government will fund the same positions, but fund $9.9 million worth of support services for advocates up until the NDIS takes over the system.
Someone else just stand up and form a queue behind the mic. Go through as quickly as we can. A queue of one or two before the joint. Wow. That's great.
Hello, I'm Tony Curtis from Pennant Hills. Question for Steve Ackerman. I was just wondering, with all your proposals of things that you were saying before in your speech, from my understanding, why is the Labor government not, or the Labor Party, not proposed even $1 for the Hornsby Pennant Hills area?
It's a safe seat. Hornsey's biggest problem is the electoral pendulum. I mean, we're up. Well, laugh all you like. Go into any marginal seat in New South Wales, and there is money being chucked left, right, and centre. I went on to Gladys Berejiklian's website, and I had a look at where the money's going on train stations. Well, goodness me, no surprise, every train station getting lifts, upgrades or refurbishments, it's in marginal seats. It's just the way politics works. I mean, if you want to change things, it's not, you're shaking your head, well, I can tell you, it's not, well, you're turning political convention on its head. Today, I spoke with the candidates in 2 safe Labor seats, Bankstown and another one, I can't remember the name of it, anyway, the 2 safe Labor seats. My question to them was, how are you guys faring under the Baird government? Are you getting adequate funding? And they laughed. Tanya Mearlock and Paul Pierce. They just said, mate, no, we're at the bottom of the pile. And if you want to change, if you want to change things and bump us back and give us some leverage and a year of government, which is what I said in the speech, change how you vote, split your vote. It's a no-brainer. Right now, the promises that are being made are not believable because it's all tied to selling our electricity assets. It's basically a gun at your head. So you've got a choice. You can say yes to selling the electricity assets and losing. You can have a semantic argument. You can have a semantic.
Okay, just have some order, please. Steve, wrap up your answer so we can.
We can have a semantic argument about sale leasing. It's 99 years. We won't be able to. Well, once it's gone.
Hey, let him finish.
Once it's gone, it's gone. We'll never be able to buy it back. So you can forget it. You can forget about that. So you're happy.
It's leased, it's not sold.
Yeah,
I think you made your point. It's a political
but
expediency.
remember, you're saying goodbye to. Can I
Just let him finish. Let him finish.
I don't want to hog the microphone. You're saying goodbye to $1.7 billion in revenue to the state every single year. There is no explanation of how that revenue is going to be returned to the budget. Okay, there's no plan B.
Hang on, wait till the mic.
Mike Baird has already said there's no plan B. Barry O'Farrell himself said privatisation of assets is no silver bullet. Barry O'Farrell said that himself. The history of privatisation in New South Wales and Australia is very mixed. It's very mixed. Go and do your research. There's no clear cut, yeah, that's it. There's no silver bullet.
Okay, thank you very much. I know Matt wants to respond. I'll book it so that we could get on with the next question. Can I just point out the lady who asked that question was, I've forgotten your name, sorry? Tony. Tony actually came up to me in the break and, do you know what the break? Someone look. Oh, there we are, sorry. Came to the break and said there were people not being very fair and were sort of heckling when Steve was talking. It's good to see people being fair, and please, if you've got a question, try and wait in the queue and ask it rather than ask it from the floor. Okay. Thanks, Tony, for your question. Next.
Okay, my name's Bob Partington. I'm a local resident. Unfortunately, it's on the same subject, guys. I'm concerned about misinformation being put around the place. So I'd like to ask Matt to explain to us, and probably to Steve as well, what is the difference between leasing and renting 49% of assets versus selling, which is a lie?
You did get a lot of response.
Well, look, there's a big difference between selling and leasing, and as a chartered accountant, I can tell you that. I made my career on doing this stuff. There is a very, very big difference. We're leasing the assets. We're retaining 51% ownership of the state's electricity assets. We're releasing some of the capital from old assets to build new assets. New assets that will improve our schools. New assets that will build our roads, build our public transport, build our hospitals. If it's such a bad idea, then why did Bob Carr, the Labor Premier, try to do it? Why did Labor Premier Morris Yemma try to do it? They tried to do it and they couldn't do it because they couldn't get it past their paymasters in the union movement who have most to lose by being exposed to the private sector. It's their perks, it's their privileges, it's their special interests which are at risk. We are going to deliver something for every citizen in New South Wales, not just special interest groups, not just the select few in the union movement. This is about transforming our state forever. We have a plan, a positive plan to do it. It involves leasing 49% of an asset which will remain in public ownership so that we can continue to build new public assets for future generations to enjoy.
Thank you.
Very, very quick response. You've got a straight up choice, and nobody's been able to answer the question, how are you going to replace the $1.7 billion that is returned to the taxpayer every single year from our polls, our power, our profits? Somebody explain to me how we're going to return that money back, because that money pays for schools, roads, hospitals, people with disabilities, all those important things. Mike Baird said, oh, it'll just come out because we'll get that money back because the economy will boom. Boy, that's a big promise. Also, you've got to remember who's going to buy these assets. In South Australia, it's owned by a wealthy overseas businessman. He gets $400 every year off every single taxpayer or person in that state. That's where the money goes. That's our money. That's money that we use to do things in New South Wales. So it's a con job. It's almost like blackmail. That look, you can have all these things, but you've got to let us you've got to let us lease. Sorry, God, you jumbled over the poles and the wires. What is interesting though is that in New South Wales, it's been revealed that there was a $5 billion underspend on assets on infrastructure in New South Wales. $5 billion underspent. So it's money sitting there to do things. $5 billion, absolutely. Just under $5 billion. So,
okay, let's turn it through.
Yeah, okay, well, so, I mean, when you talk about Hornsby Hospital and the car park, I mean, Matt's had 4 years to plan and finance this. I mean, nothing's in the forward estimates. This is just, well, there's no start date, there's no finish date. Where's the money coming from?
Where's your money coming from?
Well, mate, we're
trying to. Sorry, this is harder to chair than I thought it was going to be. So let's skip it just a little bit. So a very quick response.
I'll just respond. You said, where's the $1.5 billion going to come from to pay for the teachers, nurses, etc.? We get it up front. We get it up front. That's the whole idea of a lease. We get it up front. And that $1.5 billion that my opponent is talking about, guess what? Labor had that for 16 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we got nothing.
That's it.
Because they were so busy looking after their mates in the union movement, their special privileges, that we didn't get the infrastructure. And don't believe me, and I hear the Labor campaign manager calling out rubbish there. Don't believe me. Look at our hospital. Look at the state they left our local hospital in. Look at the state they left our local commuter car parks in. Look at the state they left Pennant Hills Road on. We're getting in on with fixing the job and delivering for residents right across this state, not special interests, not union members. We'll deliver for everyone.
Okay, this is obviously something that raises a lot of passions. Let me make 3 quick points. The difference between leasing and selling depends on what it is. If you lease something that is depreciating, then after 99 years it has no value. So if I were to lease my TV set for 99 years, I would consider that to be exactly the same as selling it. Second point I would like to make is a question. Why would anyone want to buy our electricity network? It's because they are going to make a lot of money. And they are going to make that money from you. The third point, and you've probably gathered by now that the Greens are utterly opposed to this privatisation. The third point is that we are on the cusp of an energy transition. There are 2 million houses in Australia with solar panels. In South Australia, getting up to 45% of their electricity is generated by wind and solar. The era of the coal-burning mega power station is over. And if we privatise our electricity network, we are simply going to make it more difficult and more expensive to make this inevitable transition to renewable energy. Thank you.
someone pointed out to me that I didn't fully introduce you before. So this is Leighton Few, and please respond to this question.
Candidate for the Christian Democratic Party. We have two members in the upper house, Fred Nile and Paul Green. They have the balance of power up until now, which means they can either support or oppose legislation, and it's generally their policy to support the government of the day unless there is some serious problem with it. As far as the poles and wires are concerned, I mentioned earlier in my 8-minute presentation that if that issue comes up, and it may come up depending on whether the Liberal or the Labor government is, Liberal or Labor Party are returned to power, then the CDP would insist that there be a full independent inquiry and to ensure that there is going to be a financial benefit to the members of this state, to all the residents. Okay, so in other words, our prices are not going to go up like they did with green slip insurance, for example, many years ago, and that the jobs of the present power workers are protected for at least 5 years.
Thank you. Next question, please. Name and address.
My name is John Hingston. I actually live in Kenthurst, but I am a member of local branch and therefore actively involved. My question is to Ackerman. You've lived in Hornsby for 25 years. In the 16 years of a Labour government, nothing significant had been done by the Labour Party for Hornsby. Matt Keane, in his first term as a Liberal, promised that he would ensure the major upgrade of the Hornsby Hospital, provide sewage connection to Golston, Cowan and other places, both achieved in under 4 years. With your Labour Party track record of promises and no results for Hornsby, I'm not talking about New South Wales, but Hornsby, why should we believe you?
Good question.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, I've lived here for 25 years, so that 25 years encompasses both Liberal and Labor governments, correct?
Yes, that's 16 years
That's
of
right.
Labour.
Well, that encompasses 16 years. Hornsby Hospital didn't run down in the last 16 years of the Labor government. And to please let me finish. Please let me finish. To say that the Labor government didn't do anything to Hornsby Hospital is completely untrue. It's completely untrue. Well, I'll read out the list, shall I? I'll read out the list. Come on. Well, you asked me a question, I'm trying to answer it, so, you know, have a little bit of it. Yeah, thank you. Now, Hornsby isn't a Labor seat. It never has been. It's never had a Labor member. It's never had a Labor member arguing for your things, ever, has it? So it's impossible to judge how Labor members have ever done in a seat they've never held, for a start. The only Labor representation you've ever had in Hornsby has been at Hornsby Council level. And let me tell you, it was the Hornsby Council, the Hornsby Labor councillors, together with the Green councillor, Wendy McMurdo, who voted against spending $7 million of your ratepayer money on the Dural Equestrian Centre, the Galston Equestrian Centre. So, you know, excuse me, we are looking out for your interests. Now, Hornsby Hospital. Hornsby Hospital, in case you haven't been to the Accident and Emergency Unit, was actually built by a Labor government. It was a $27 million addition to Hornsby Hospital. Now, Matt well knows that at the last state election, the upgrades to the new facility, the mental health facility, was a Labor promise. It was a Labor commitment. The stage 1 plan of Hornsby Hospital was budgeted for. Gillian Skinner, at a recent function, actually complimented John Della Bosca and Carmel Tebbit for the work that they did to lay the groundwork for what happened at Hornsby Hospital, acknowledged in public. So it's a bit hard to defend yourself when you lose government. Now, we can just run through the list. $6.8 million for the construction of the mental health unit, intensive care unit. $1.1 million for the construction of the transitional care unit. $636,000 to upgrade and provide all-weather linkway between the new emergency building and the imaging and operating suite. $989,000 to install a 64-slice CT scanner. $235,000 for the purchase of equipment and structural refurbishments to the radiology room with the medical imaging department. Just tell me when to stop. 121,000 for the 100. You just said we never spent anything on Hornsby Hospital. I'm just giving you a list. I'm just giving you a list. Completion and renovation of the level 2 of the Lumby building, which we all know should be torn down. I'm not churlish enough to say I think it's great that they're spending money on Hornsby Hospital. I use the hospital as well. It's a disgrace. It should never be allowed to run down like that. It should never have happened in a million years. We collectively should all hang our heads in shame. But I'll tell you what, if it was a marginal seat and I was your member, I would be making damn sure that every single cent, that every single commitment that Matt made on that hospital is followed through. Absolutely guaranteed, rock solid. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm an absolute tiger when it comes to getting things done. In the Labor Party, I'm sure some in the Labor Party don't want me to win as well, because I'm an absolute terrier. So trust me, if Matt makes a commitment and a miracle happens that I become the member for Hornsby, a 26.5% swing, which is probably highly unlikely, trust me, that will be done. That will be done, and I will be judged on that. Proud to be judged on that.
Okay, Marcia, next question. Sorry, I don't want too much responses. Marcia, please ask your question and your
I'm not
address.
sure who wants to answer this one, perhaps Matt. Can state and federal governments totally abrogate their responsibility to the community in relaxation to the non-filtration of the North Connex 9-kilometre tunnel, the longest in Australia? The polycyclic carcinogenic particles will be spread over a large area from the tunnel stacks, and that it also includes the 2 portals which will be in Wilson Road and Lochmaree. Who knows what will come out of there? There are no safe levels of these particles. This is the new asbestos. Are our governments laying themselves open to class action in the future? We need legislation to cover control of road and rail emitters of particulate matter.
Yeah, Matt, you go first.
Well, thanks, Marcia, for raising this incredibly important issue. It's an issue that I've been very across since the project was announced, and I want to thank you for your continued advocacy. For those of you that don't know, one of the stacks is just outside my electorate in Woonona Avenue at Wahroonga. Those residents are rightly concerned about a emissions portal in their backyard. I've met with those residents. I've met with them countless times. I've taken them in to see the Minister. I was the only candidate in this forum to make a submission with regard to the issues around air quality to the independent process that was undertaken to assess the project. And I did that in conjunction with local residents who had the knowledge and the expertise. And I'd particularly like to acknowledge Jonas Ball, who is an engineer and consultant on these projects. He knows what he's doing, and he was able to help shape my response on behalf of our community. But again, I say I was the only candidate at this forum to make a submission on behalf of the community to raise issues around air quality. And you know what? As a result of that submission, as a result of our advocacy into the EIS, changes were made to the project. Changes were made to the project to make it safe. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of the Chief Scientist in New South Wales. Take the word of the Chief Scientist in New South Wales who has signed off on this project and said that it meets World Health Organisation standards. Take the word of the Chief Scientist who says that it's been built in line with international best practice. You know, I'm interested in listening to the science. Labor and the Greens, Mr. Story, Dr. Story said before that we should listen to the science with regard to climate change. Well, let's listen to the science with regard to this as well. The Chief Scientist of New South Wales has signed off on it. She said it's safe. She said it meets World Health Organisation standards. She said it meets international best practice. I'll back the science.
Okay, John, do you want to respond to the science issue?
Yeah, turns out that the World Health Organization standards aren't very good. That's the basic point. And the reason is the following, that like some other things, there is no safe level of polyaromatic hydrocarbons. There's no safe level of diesel soot. And so the World Health Organization standards are set at a level at which not too many people are going to die. And so the standards always have to be assessed on the basis of a cost-benefit analysis. And if by building this tunnel and having unfiltered stacks, we are dooming more residents to a premature death or to a loss of quality of life, then we need to be able to justify that in terms of some huge benefit that this project is going to offer. And as I've already said, I cannot see that benefit because in 6 years' time, that tunnel is going to be clogged, the roads are going to be clogged leading into it, and we're exactly back where we started from.
Thanks, Duncan. Okay, very quickly. Just while Steve's preparing to go.
We could spend the whole night talking about North Connex and all the things that are wrong with it. The only thing that we agree on, Labor and the Liberals, is that it's going to be built. So you can argue about the route and whether it's the right solution. For me, the most instructive thing about the North Connex project was going back to the 2007 Lane Cove Tunnel debacle, or debacle if you want to call it that. It was interesting when the Liberal Party was in opposition in 2007. My goodness, Gladys Berejiklian, Anthony Roberts, both speaking in the Parliament, go and have a look at the Hansard, what they were saying about air pollution out of road tunnels and the Labor government refusing to filter those tunnels. The language was absolutely incredible. The facts that air pollution is a killer, this is a life and death matter, go back and have a read of the Hansard. The hypocrisy is incredible. Where are these people now? Where are they now? They're not saying a word. Very interesting though to see either end of the tunnel. We have Matt at the Wahroonga end and we have David Elliott at the Baulkham Hills end. David Elliott withdrew support for North Connex Tunnel without filtration. He put a media statement out saying, I withdraw support for North Connex Tunnel. I immediately went onto his Facebook, the Facebook page for the North Connex people, and I said, I congratulate you, David. I think that's a fantastic stand. You are standing up for your community. Unbelievable. Where's Matt Keane on this? Silence. David Elliott a few months ago was at Community Forum, and David, I sat in the audience over at Pennant Hills with another Labor candidate, Ryan Tracy, who's running against him. And David said in front of these people, extraordinary. He said, you know, I've worked very hard, but unfortunately I haven't been able to deliver filtration on these stacks for you, I'm going to pay a price, he said. My career aspirations are going to take a hit. Well, I nearly fell off my chair. Here's a man standing in front of an audience who are going to have to suck up toxic air pollution, complaining about his career prospects taking a hit. Goodness me, what does that, and to make it worse, what does that say about the Liberal Party? Punishing a local member sticking up for his community. It was no surprise to me then when I put two and two together. Matt, very ambitious young bloke, and good luck to him and all that sort of stuff.
We're getting a bit close to playing the man on the ball, so I want you to sit down soon.
The tap on the shoulder was, mate, be quiet on this. Be quiet on this. If you want to go places in the Liberal Party, David Elliott showed exactly what happened there. It's shameful. People are going to get sick from this road tunnel. People driving in this tunnel are going to get sick. It isn't safe. PM 2.5 and less are killers. I have an asbestos licence removal certificate and a supervisor certificate. There is the one thing they tell you when you're doing these courses, there is no safe minimum exposure. None. Have you ever seen film of somebody dying from mesothelioma? Would it show me anybody in this room that would be happy to live within 50 metres? Within 50 metres.
I'll tell you what, just very quickly.
Who would be happy to live within 50 metres of one of these stacks? 9 kilometres of choking fumes coming out of that tunnel. You'd be happy to live there. Well, good luck, mate. Good luck.
Okay, thanks. Because this is such a hot issue,